Well, here it is. It's our last show for the semester. But don't fret, because we've got some great stories ahead. On today's show, the hip-hop choreography of GK, what happens when a neighborhood gets an official name, a mini bio of Afro-Canadian artist and painter Lexi Rianne, and the life of paramedic student Neil Ball. All that and more, including a live performance from singer-songwriter Rad. So pull up a comfy chair and relax, because this is The Journal. Welcome again to The Journal, live from Centennial College's amazing Story Arts Center right here in Toronto. I'm your host, Eric McMullen. Clearly, I was not important enough to be in the intro, but I'm okay. Don't worry. My feelings are a little bit hurt, but I'll survive. It's our very last show for 2018, and we are going to go out with a bang. Do you love to dance? Because I do. Breakdancing, aka hip-hop, was first created as a less lethal form of fighting between street gangs in 1970s Bronx area of New York City. Our producer, Allison Tyag, has a passion for the art of dance. This is her second dance doc, and here she introduces us to choreographer GK, who is a former member of YYZ Dance Company. Here's Allison's documentary, Follow What You Feel.
Don't make me wait on you.
For me, it's not about impressing other people or doing what they want me to do. It's a way to release whatever emotions that I have. My name is GK Villanueva, and I like to dance. Dance is a catharsis for me. When I start to choreograph, I let the song move me. Usually the song plays, and I often go back and try different versions of moves that I like to do. And whatever feels right during that moment in the song, I stick with it. I like to teach my friends pieces that I choreograph because in general they help me develop my teaching skills, and they're always willing to learn.
4 and 5 and yeah.
Even though I'm teaching them something, I'm still learning how to teach better.
7 8 no 7 and so and 7 and 8 and
I feel like spending time with your friends in an open studio or wherever the creative space may be, where everyone's just working hard, it just somehow brings you closer together, and everyone just leaves having learned something new from there.
Alright, at night your aura turns to blue. Your kisses paint me rouge. You got me wide awake, riding on your body wave.
As a choreographer, you see the songs in different layers. There's the vocals, a beat, a rhythm. Once you find all the layers, you end up picking and choosing what you want to show to people. And you base your movements off there.
When nobody else is
And at the end of the day, you're more satisfied with the end product when you just follow what you feel.
Wow, who knew choreography like that could have such an impact? Today, we have the producer of that doc to tell us a little bit more about GK and dance. Hi, Allison. Tell us a little bit of why you chose to pick GK for your main focus of your documentary.
Hey, Eric. So I met GK when we joined YYZ about 5 years ago now. And when we first started, he was just starting. He was just learning how to dance. And I think that he's come such a long way from that. He's choreographing now. So I just wanted to document and highlight GK as an individual because I think he's really hardworking and he deserves it.
All right, so I understand that you are a dancer too, so how did you get into dance?
Actually, I started playing basketball first, and then I saw when I got to high school this group of people like just dancing in the hallway, and I thought it was really cool. So in the summer, I went and I trained and I took some beginner classes at Right Foot Studio back then, which St. Clair West, and I came back the next year, and me and my friend Nathan, we started a team called Charismatic that would go on to place in multiple competitions around the GTA, which is actually where we met a lot of the other dancers, which is where I met the people that formed YYZ.
Okay, so how do you think dance has helped GK in his life? Like, what do you think sort of got him to where he is?
Wow, that's a tough one. I've actually GK and I are really close. I think when it comes to dance, like he spends a lot of late nights in the studio, working on his own craft by himself, and he also has trained in multiple other programs like Footnotes and with George Jones Jr., that's a pretty big deal in the dance scene. And I don't know. I think as an individual, he's great. He's always motivating other people to work harder. When we were in YYZ together, he was always the one pushing everybody to push themselves a little bit further and to get a little bit better. So I think that making a documentary about him, it was just the right thing to do. I just want everybody to know who GK is and what he does and what he's going to do, because he's somebody to watch.
All right, well, that's actually pretty cool. So, I mean, I guess you kind of elaborate, but can you go a little bit more into sort of why is it important to you to get GK's story out there? You talked about him, but like, what's important about for you?
He was one of my best friends, or he is one of my best friends. Me, him, and this other guy, Kevin, we spent a lot of time together when we first formed YYZ, and our friendship continues today. I'm actually going to see them all on Sunday. We're all still friends, even though we don't dance together anymore, even though we don't have to be in the same place twice a week anymore. We're all still together, and we're all still friends. And I just saw GK yesterday, actually. I miss him. I wish I could hang out with him more.
All right, well, thank you so much, Allison, for taking the time talking to us and sharing us your to dance. I certainly learned a lot more about dance that I did not know about. So, and keep grooving with us as we still have stories about a paramedic student and a profile of Lexi Rianne, an up-and-coming fine art painter. And stick around for a live performance by Rad. I'm sure you can dance to that. This next story sounds just like a dance move. The Danny? Well, that's actually the official neighborhood name for a long section of one of Toronto's major downtown streets, Danforth Avenue. Our school, the Story Arts Centre, is just a couple of blocks north of the Danforth. It's a vibrant area of great restaurants, cool coffee shops, and hundreds of other stores and businesses. And it's home to thousands of Torontonians like our producer Graham Buchan, who was curious to how and why the neighborhood's name is now officially the Danny. Here it is. Here is the name of the neighborhood.
If you were to walk along the Danforth, anywhere between Jones and Westlake Avenue, you would have probably noticed all the banners and street signs emblazoned with the words, The Danny. The Danny is the new name given to the area by the local Danforth Mosaic in order to promote local businesses and give the area an attractive brand that reflects the community and what it has to offer. Naturally, the name has charged opinions from locals and local business owners, speaking out for its benefits or for its absurdity. Some people just don't care one way or the other about the name. Tony Riley has lived in the area for the last 20 years. His family-run pet store, the Wag on the Danforth, has been in business since it was opened back in 2008.
I believe that the signage along the Danforth is an effective way to physically label the street. However, it doesn't permeate, as nobody really identifies the Danforth as the Danny. And truthfully, in my experience, if you bring up the name the Danny, it either makes people very irate or confused. My opinion of the Danny is one of democracy. While the name might not 100% be to my tastes, I believe that if the people of the Danforth want to adopt the name, then I won't hold anything against them. If it's bringing people to the neighborhood, if it's making it more recognizable, then that's a positive impact. However, I haven't experienced any sort of benefits nor detriments due to the name change.
The Danny is home to over 500 different businesses, including pet stores as well as vintage stores. Maggie Kratchik, owns the Handwork Department, a vintage shop established in 2015.
The name change, I find, has really sort of helped the neighborhood. Lots of people are talking about it. It may not all be good, but as they say, there's no such thing as bad publicity. So even when people say they don't like the name The Danny, they like the name The Danny. Really, in the end, it doesn't matter because people are talking about the Danny.
Like it or not, the name The Danny is now in the public eye. People are seeing it around, and more importantly, they're talking about it. The name has done its job.
Thank you, Graham, for sharing your take on the Danforth. I mean, the Danny. Centennial's Story Arts Center is located in a wonderfully cultural, diverse town. Something very magical is happening in the next documentary. Lexi Rianne is an Afro-Canadian woman who loves her culture so much that she incorporates it into her art practice. As a painter, she strives to break down negative stereotypes about people of color through her work. Before this doc airs, we have the artist herself, Lexi, here in the studio today. Hi, Lexi, how are you today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Doing pretty well, thank you. So I understand that art, I guess art is your creative outlet, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and so I said you're a painter, but like sort of, do you use any other artistic outlets, like painting, or is that only sort of what you do?
Painting as well as drawing, watercolors. I also dabble in photography a little bit, but mostly I would say painting.
All right, so, and that's actually pretty cool. So how did your love for art like begin? Like, where did that start from?
It probably started from when I was a very young child. I can't really remember. When I was very small, my mom started to put me into extracurricular classes, and that's what I did on my weekends. And then my passion continued to grow until about high school age, and I auditioned to enroll into the visual arts program at Wexford Collegiate School for the Arts. And then from there, I just went on to post-secondary with that.
Okay, and a lot of people have like a stress sort of outlet. Is this something for you? Like, does this help you with like stress or anxiety or anything like that?
Yes, it really does. I don't feel like myself if I'm not making art, at least on a weekly basis or a daily basis, preferred. But it's interesting because sometimes making art can be a source of anxiety for me as well.
Okay, and so I guess you say you have anxiety. So I guess was it hard to be filmed for this documentary?
Yeah, it was really hard. I was very aware of the cameras and the microphone, and I was uncomfortable. But as we went on, and as I continued to do it, I realized that the message that I was sharing was a great message to put out there. So at the end of it, I enjoyed doing it.
Okay, and that's okay. And so, do you have any advice for anyone who wants to start getting anyone who wants to start getting into art? Like, how do you think they should do it?
I would say that if you're passionate about it, you should just go for it and pursue your passions. And I feel like things will work out if you just go with what you love to do.
All right, well, great. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
We're ready to learn about you and art. So, without further ado, here's your doc, Artist Block.
So ever since I was a small child, as far back as I can remember, I've always been really interested in art. I was always kind of being pushed into the direction of being an artist, and I always knew that that was what I wanted to do, and there was never a doubt in my mind that I wanted to do anything else. I remember being really into drawing with pencils, and especially drawing portraits, which is also what I'm still into. I remember when I first got my my first sketchbook, and I was just, every day I would draw a new family member. So I would draw my grandmother, my mom, anyone who was around me, and I was really proud of that, and I would show every single person that came into the house. I was bullied a lot as a kid, and now as an adult, I often feel alienated in society. I feel very different from my peers. So over the years, I have developed a high amount of anxiety. It's been something that I've struggled with a lot. It does have an impact on my work and how I create, because I tend to doubt myself a lot and overthink how others will see me. And the process of making art is something that is very vulnerable for me, and it's hard to open up because I know that when people see my work, they'll see, a glimpse of myself. And sometimes that can be really difficult to come to terms with. But at the same time, I feel like in spite of that, it's important for me to show these things, to show my work. because I feel like my work has a greater purpose other than myself. And so at the end of the day, I have to just continue to push forward and feel confident about what I'm creating and remember why I'm creating. I'm also very open about the fact that I do suffer from depression and anxiety. So balancing my mental health with my creative process can sometimes be very difficult. In the last year, I've taken a lot of steps toward managing my anxiety, but in the past, it has created a huge obstacle in how I create art, from just having a lack of motivation, being filled with self-doubt and being self-deprecating, not wanting to create anything. So when you're dealing with that, it doesn't really give you the motivation or the desire or the drive to create anything. A lot of people say, oh, well, why don't you just create more and express yourself through art? And it's not always that simple, because the anxiety makes you super hypervigilant and very aware and feel very negative about yourself, while the depression can make you feel like, worthless. And there's a lot of times as I'm creating that I'll sit there and I'll think, why am I an artist? Am I able to do this? Is it going to be good? So it's this really weird emotional roller coaster that I go through when I'm painting and creating. There's a lot of self-doubt. Then there's moments of happiness and pride where I actually feel like I'm accomplishing something great. But it's not this sort of happy, perfect ride of creativity. Sometimes it really is difficult for me to push through and see the end of it and even understand why I feel so motivated to create art. So it's these two polarizing effects that really create a barrier when it comes to actually creating art. The major theme in my artwork is identity and the different aspects of that, the intersectionality of identity. Could be gender, ethnicity, culture, religion, sexual identity, and how they all interact with each other and make somebody unique. It also deals with tracing one's roots. Specifically for me, something that I've struggled with is the inability to trace back to where my ancestors came from due to slavery and colonialism. The idea that many cultures are being appropriated by the West and not given credit to them. So some of the subjects in my artwork, they're usually Black women with natural hair and deeper skin tones. I want to represent natural African facial features. These are all things that have been negatively viewed in the lens of mass culture for many centuries. Sometimes I feel like it's frivolous to only represent beauty. I tend to make my subjects very beautiful and appealing to the eye, but then I realize that it's very important to do that because there have been so many negative stereotypes, and making the more beautiful side of people of color visible, especially in a fine art context. Just knowing that one day my work could hang in galleries and could inspire some little Black girl that is fueled with self-hatred or has negative ideas about herself because of how society has conditioned her to feel about herself. That is something that is truly dear to my heart and is one of the things that motivates me to be an artist, is representation. If that is the only thing that I accomplish in my entire life, I feel like that's enough.
Who knew the impact art could have on our lives? And it's something we can keep doing throughout our lives, whether it's music, dance, poetry, or painting. Speaking of doing something for the rest of your life, our next doc features Neil Ball, a student from Centennial College who has chosen the path of helping people. Producer Zach Crawford takes a look into Neil's everyday journey as a paramedic in training. Let's check it out.
My name is Neil Ball, and I'm a paramedic student at Centennial College. So being a paramedic has been a long time ambition of mine. It started a long time ago when I was younger. My younger brother Luke ended up having a seizure one day while I was out for a walk with my family, and my mother, being a nurse, did what she could and called 911. And the paramedics that responded were tremendous. I looked up to them ever since that event, and I know how it feels to be in a situation of fear, and being on the receiving end has made me want to become a paramedic myself. It's very hard to become a paramedic if you're not actually practicing the skills and all the physical and the technical aspects of the career. So what we do within the program is we have scheduled labs and unscheduled lab practice.
Unwell baby? 2 years old.
Oh shit.
What time of day is it? Right now. 2-year-old? All right, baby's lungs. I'm gonna change over my stethoscope, so I'm using the bell instead. Okay. So I'm gonna try to do a bit of a foreplay. Mom's at work. Mom's at work. Okay.
Scenarios are by far the best way to learn and to develop the skills that we're going to use out on the road. It's a very realistic environment that is probably one of the best ways we learn and develop the skills that we're going to use in our career.
All right, what do I think of my classmates? I mean, I love them. We're a family, right? We've been through it all together, and it takes supporting each other like that. It takes practicing every weekend, and it's what's going to make us good paramedics when we're out on the road. So.
We practice scenarios a lot, and we practice them over and over and over again, not until we get it right, but until we've done it wrong so many times that we can't do it wrong anymore. They say medicine is as much as an art as it is a science. There's very clear aspects of science, but when it comes down to factoring everything else in, like the communication and how you actually make people feel in the end, medicine really is both an art and a science. I'm trying to keep things simple. I just want to pass this program and become a paramedic. After that, I have considered becoming a doctor, going back to school for that, but that's only something that I'll have to wait until I've given more thought to that. It's very important to pursue your passion. You'll always be more energetic and motivated when you're doing what you know you're going to love. So never give up and always pursue your passion.
Wow, who knew how much training went into being a paramedic? Well, we are winding down to the last moments of this season's journal. For our last live performance of the season, we have the one and only Barty Mathivasan, who goes by the stage name Rad. Rad has been an avid lover of music for as long as anyone can remember. She plays guitar and loves to sing. With a great production team and support system, Rad released 3 singles this year and hopes to make a powerful impact with her music in the future. Here is Rad with her single, Yellow Rose.
The sun shine that awakens me. This morning feels warm. The thoughts of her petals, of her beautiful thorns. And in her eyes. Beneath the crescent moonlight, I find myself thinking of her smile, staring out the window, flashbacks of you and me. My life is now so empty. Tell me, why'd you have to leave? Hoping it's a dream. Mama, tell me please. Mama, tell me please. Always in my thoughts, forever in my heart. Fearful and lonely. The day she left me. Forever in my heart, where I mourn to be. Fearful and lonely, the day she left me. Nothing but a perfect memory.
That was honestly so rad.
Thank you.
So, how did you start your music career?
Well, I started when I was really young. My parents had put me in South Indian classical vocal and violin lessons, and since then, I guess I've just kind of grown.
Right, and so, where can people find your music?
I'm on SoundCloud and Instagram at Rad Music.
All right, well, thank you so much for reporting on the journal today. And sadly, that is the end of the journal for 2018. We've shared many laughs, great documentaries, interviews, performances, and great times together. Thank you to all the amazing hosts and crew that helped us make the journal a success. Until next time, these are your hosts for the Journal 2018. Thank you all for watching.
See you all
Now
next year. All right, now come here, Eric. I'm gonna give you a big old kiss.
Welcome to the guys. Hello?